Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers, and excellence seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level.
Relax.
Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast. I have an incredible human of tourism here with me, Nic Cooper from Wham. I have to say Wham first. Wild Adventures Melbourne. Nic, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Despina. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Now, Nic, we've been on a journey together over the last probably decade, for where our paths have crossed, and it's just wonderful to see you now operating your own tourism business. Just before we talk about Wham, I guess what has been your career path that led you to be a human in tourism?
It's been lifelong, I guess, because I grew up in the southeast of England. I grew up in sort of the Kent, Sussex sort of area of England. And when I was 11 years old, my parents decided to turn our family home into a guest house, into a bed and breakfast. And so from that moment on, 1995, I was kind of infused with tourism, including my bedroom was turned into one of those guest rooms. And I just met people from all around the world coming in and out the house throughout most of my childhood, and just was like fascinated in where they were from, what they were doing here, what their inspiration was for traveling. And that made me want to get out there and experience myself. And the best career path to kind of see the world is one of them is working in tourism. And ever since I've kind of been doing that. As soon as I left school, I saved up, went traveling, started working in tourism from there. Where I grew up in the countryside too is lots of adventures. I lived one of those childhoods where your mum says, come back by dinner time or come back before it's dark. And off we went into the fields and, just went on various different adventures. So that all led to this kind of career in tourism, love of adventure, love of nature, to launching Wham, which is an eco-adventure operator based here on the Mornington Peninsula.
And that just doesn't happen anymore, does it? I would never not see my kids or know where they are. Just how much, though, when you said that, it's like that's such a shame that we're losing that. How we're raising our kids. But when, in terms of the ignition in you to start Wham, at what point was there one pivotal moment, or was that just a progression that I want to do something on my own one day?
Yeah, I think it was always a dream to start something, but there was that fear factor of, don't know if I can do this, go it alone and all of that. But I love delivering experience, and I feel like my craft is creating an itinerary that gives people all of these incredible tick boxes that they could want from a day experience as well. And I always wanted to put that into practice and things as well. But leading by example, eco adventure business was really, really important to me. Of let's create a really exciting day out for people that also gives back to the local community and the local environment. And I really try and be sort of progressive in that way as well. Over the years working in tourism too, I saw the good, the bad and the ugly of tourism. And I saw how tourism can be delivered really well and learnt lots about that. And I could see how tourism could be delivered not so well and learn a lot about that as well. And in terms of being this purpose-driven business, it was seeing how, tourism can have a negative effect on environments and communities, and going, I don't want to be part of that. I want to run a business that's not part of the problem, is part of the solution. And that's why I try and find solutions to operating with purpose, so that my whole business runs in a way where you go, okay, this is actually giving back. This is having a positive impact on the customer, positive impact on the locals here, and a positive impact on the environment, which without a thriving natural environment, I wouldn't be able to run a business in the first place.
A first touch point. So, Eve, I want to talk to you a little bit about that with your B Corp journey,
Yeah.
because that's something I've always thought is like big business stuff. And it was really delightful to see, oh, here's Nic as a, you know, small tourism business with a big purpose as a B Corp. So you've gone in there with all the best practices of quality tourism business
Yeah.
and eco business. Tell me about that journey and the learnings you've taken from that, and what advice you'd give to other small business operators about going down that path as well.
Yeah, becoming a B Corp is not a straightforward process. I guess it's a long process. It's a challenging. I mean, there's some certified B Corps who, you know, dedicate entire teams to go through that certification process. But I wanted to be a best practice example. I wanted to try and, you know, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And I wanted to try and meet some of the globally highest levels of environmental and social performance, accountability and transparency. And that's what a B Corp is. You know, it's kind of really a rigorous process taking you through all aspects of your business and kind of turning your business inside out and going, this is me, this is how we're operating with purpose over every single aspect. We've thought consciously about how we can do this so it's not having a negative impact, and going through all of that process. There's a lot of measurements that, you know, a lot of reporting, a lot of measurements that you're doing, but what it helps doing is to show, I mean, there's only 4 certified tour operator B Corps in Australia. So it's a relatively small club at the moment as well. And I just wanted to show that it can be done. And, you know, certifications like that and the quality tourism framework as well, it just helps you get all your ducks in a row, and that can set you on a path for continuous process. That's one thing I found about B Corp, is that you have to recertify every 3 years. So it's a continuous process of, it's not a tick box and you go, I'm certified, I can just have that on my website forever. You have to, in 3 years time, you have to say, what have you been doing those last 3 years? How are you improving? What have you changed? What have you managed to work on that were some of your challenges? And I love that. I love being constantly challenged, despite how much work goes into it. I feel that ends up sort of elevating you as this real sort of eco business. We've had people book with us just because we're a B Corp. We've had people leave positive reviews online with us just because we're a B Corp. And that's not the only reason people book with us, but, you know, that can potentially be another source of clientele who are looking for B Corps and booking with them too.
What do clients say after a day with you? Like if we could just imagine, I mean, I couldn't get closer to being on a tour now to see this bespoke, wonderful treasure of eco-friendliness. What are some of those things? Because I have a feeling that you come away from spending even an hour with you out there in nature with feeling transformed, learning something to be better, do better, and really be more aware.
Yeah.
Is that what you're finding? Tell me about that experience of how your customers, passengers, clients, visitors, how they're coming away after spending time.
Yeah, so not every customer that books with us comes because we're an eco adventure company. A lot of people might come because they want to go on a hike, they want to go stand up paddleboarding, they want to do something adventurous. But everyone goes away going, we noticed all of your eco policies, and around 75% of our online reviews mention in some shape or form our sustainable practices, our regenerative practices, our eco practices as well. So we make them visible on our tours, but we do that in a natural way in terms of the dialogue we give. I guess a good example of that is that we provide everyone a free sunscreen from a local business called Sun Butter, and that's a reef safe sunscreen. So for me, I take people in the ocean. I didn't want them wearing a sunscreen that was toxic to themselves and to the ocean as well. There's some sunscreens out there that have sun spheres, like little microplastics in them, and I just didn't want to be part of that. So we provide a free sunscreen for people. So when I hand out this free sunscreen, I say, hey guys, here's a free sunscreen. It's reef safe. It's not toxic like some other sunscreens are. And so they're naturally learning that not all sunscreens are safe without me saying, you must not wear a sunscreen.
Yeah,
It's not this one.
yeah.
Like, rather than telling people what to do, I want to provide them a really nice service and enhance their customer service, but in a way where they go away and go, wow, I didn't even realize that some sunscreens weren't reef safe. I'm going to use one in the future. And then that leads to behavioral changes, not just from people that live here in Melbourne, but people that go back to their own countries or interstate and things as well. So that can have that knock-on effect as well. So yeah, I try and do it in a really natural way, because ultimately I want to deliver an exceptional day out for people. And I don't want to sort of spend the entire day talking about how we give back and all of that. I want to tell the story of the Mornington Peninsula, but why it's important to protect the Mornington Peninsula, why it's important to support the local community, why it's important to respect local culture, so that we can preserve this place for many years to come as well. And for me, as a tour operator, that's my responsibility to do that. And we have a captive audience that we can help grow and nurture them to be a more conscious traveller for the future. And that's a really special thing. And that's, I guess, part of my overall mission beyond running a successful business. It's transforming the tourism industry for good.
Look, you're transforming me, because even just now, I don't know if I'm a conscious traveller for one. Like, just in the way that I book, that I experience, and even now the sunscreen that I lather my kids in. Like, already you just know something you didn't know an hour ago a day. And now it's kind of like, I don't look at the ingredients. I don't know that, the ocean, when we do, we could come out in a day in the Mornington Peninsula, and it's important. So in a fun way, in a non-intrusive way, to be able to educate anyone, not even just a visitor. This is stuff that we do and that we use, I think is really important. And just, I guess, this concept, I mean, going back to this, going out in the field, I think as kids or even as adults, particularly after what we've just been through, just being out in nature, connecting with each other, connecting in nature. I think what, even as the local visitor or the local person coming from Melbourne to experience this, is something that we need to be on a real mission as a collective, tourism collective. There you go. The girls will be happy as a collective to kind of put that out there. Come and experience, I guess in what we've been talking a lot today is like, you buy more stuff, but coming out and doing more adventures and experience like what you offer is something that's really come back top of mind. Just being out here, feeling a bit of a tourist today.
Yeah.
How disconnected we are, because I've done 32 interviews. None of them have been in person like this.
Yeah.
It's been over a Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just how wonderful it is. And we could have met again another 100 times like we have in the past, but not really understand what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I've got a good example.
Yeah, please.
So, right now it's the middle of January, the Australian Open's on. This is peak of the peak season right now as well. And I had some guests on the weekend just gone, and I took them to a rock pool in nature with nobody else around. There was nobody on that entire walk and rock pool swim as well. And I think that's one of the best things about being a local operator, and what our guests come away with is they've gone, wow, you hear about the Mornington Peninsula being packed during the peak of summer, but there's actually this incredible experience underneath the surface that not everyone gets to experience as well. And I love being able to connect people with nature in a way where they go, whatever time of year we experience it, we can have a really special time. And they come away feeling rejuvenated. Every business idea I have is when I'm on a walk in nature or on a run in nature is or on the ocean or under the ocean. That's every sort of idea I have, because it automatically turns you off digitally, and it automatically kind of just turns on your creativity and your thought process too.
Oh, so important. This is also home for you and your beautiful family. Has that just also sharing your backyard with the local, and I can just see how valuable that is. And again, I'm 40 minutes away and I want to go to this spot, like come and enjoy that. So definitely from that point of coming out and disconnecting until we're more intentional with that as conscious intentional with our time and how we spend our time outside of just, you know, the responsibilities that we have to run. That's okay. See, this is part of the thing. We're literally, for anyone that's listening to this, I should give some context. Because you might be watching it, but for anyone that's listening, Nic has decked out the back of the Whamdegh,
The Wham van.
the Wham van with a couch. It's fully kitted out for your tours that you're doing, your picnics, and you offer. We're drinking this gorgeous. What was the tea again?
It's from Mabu. It's a native tea. Yeah.
Native Mabu tea, and we are overlooking literally the entire peninsula over here. What's it? It's Chapman's Point.
Yeah, on we're at the very top of Arthur's Seat, or its indigenous name is Whamdegh. And yeah, this is about 300 meters above sea level, so it's a really significant place looking out onto the bay. So panoramic views, great time at sunset actually, coming up here and checking out as well. So it's a good spot for some reflection, I reckon.
Oh, I actually feel a bit embarrassed. I've never done this road. Actually, there I've said it. Like I feel like I've said it, and I need to definitely get out more and be the same. I think just being out here today, and meeting and connecting, and I think with you and your purpose-driven mission, it's what I say. Well, what I try to, in engaging the way we must collaborate, we must be part of the bigger picture as tour operators, as small business to succeed, because we're all one of, you know, our success is part of the whole story, is that it's ecological. It's got to be good for me, good for you, and good for the greater good.
Yep.
Environment, destination, region. In terms of just how important it's been in your relationships and in your partnerships, you know, from what you had existing as someone that was very much in, you know, at the pinnacle in the state for a tourism organisation. So Nic worked for a few years managing the UK markets for Visit Victoria, to actually then also the relationships, because the vibe that I got from a recent, also congratulations, a finalist for the Mornington Peninsula Business Excellence Awards, I really got this sense of camaraderie and community within the local businesses. How, could you talk a little bit to that, of just how important that's been for you as you've grown?
Yeah, and not just tourism businesses, but just local businesses in general down here on the Mornington Peninsula. So there's over 25 Australian businesses that we support. That could be through the tea that we offer, that could be through the sunscreen that we give to our guests, and you know, the majority of them we always try and prioritize finding them on the Mornington Peninsula. You know, this hat is by Whamdegh, who's a B Corp hat company based here on the Mornington Peninsula too. So one of the things that has been great about becoming a certified B Corp, becoming a sort of purpose-driven business, is you meet this whole community of social entrepreneurs. So not just the wonderful tourism community and tourism operators, but then you meet all of these other purpose-driven businesses as well. And that helps, looking at other industries helps give you idea for your own industry and your own business as well. So and I find that being collaborative and, you know, promoting to my guests traveling with us in a day, local restaurants, or another type of tour to do tomorrow, or a local winery or whatever, is really, really important. And I hope that's a reciprocal thing where they're potentially promoting us as well. And I just feel that you get that. You would have seen that at the Mornington Peninsula Business Excellence Awards. You know, I was rooting for all of the businesses to win, even the ones that are in the same category as us. So you know, I'm hugely, there's enough you know, I guess it's that classic thing, there's enough pie for absolutely everyone, but it's also really important that the right type of customer goes to the right type of experience as well. And so, you know, I'm more than happy if I get an inquiry for something that I'm not going to be the most suitable business to offer, that I say, oh, have you heard of these guys, and kind of pass that on all the time. So I find that's really great about the Mornington Peninsula and other parts of regional Victoria as well, is, you know, a lot of the businesses know each other, and a lot of businesses are out there to support each other, and, you know, just generally be good people and good businesses as well.
Especially when you are a business in a region like Mornington Peninsula, who is now really quite established as a destination, as a Victorian destination, also as an Australian visitor destination. Ambassadors like yourself also, when you in the community with businesses that don't see themselves as tourism, also advocating that we're all in the business, we've all kind of been trying to get that across. We're all in the business of tourism when we're serving the visitor. But when also, I guess that's important, and I know through having those type of relationships when you're in a small tour operation, when you can feel quite isolated, it's always so wonderful to be able to pick up the phone. I'm having this challenge because someone else has been there. You're agreeing. Like, has that been? It's invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes you're like, am I facing the same challenges with forward bookings this year as another operator is? And just having those conversations. I think, as an owner operator business, and I know there's a lot of owner operator businesses in the industry, the vast majority are sometimes, when things aren't at your expectations, you start questioning everything. You start questioning your product, your price, your service, your absolutely everything. But, being able to, like you say, pick up the phone and just have a chat with other operators, and you often find that they're going through the same peaks and troughs that you are, and that gives you a bit of I guess, resilience and confidence that you can ride it out and come up with good things as well. And just being really faithful that your product is fantastic, and going, you know what, this product's great, but it just takes time for it to kind of get out there and get the people too. So constant learning process. But as I say, as my wife probably gets tired of me sort of always just throwing ideas at her and throwing conversations at her as well. So to be able to speak to some of those other businesses is just a really good way of kind of finding out what's going on out there and realizing that we're all in the same boat.
Oh, 1000%. It's something that, yes, even in those conversations sometimes are also the greatest breeding ground for innovation, as you discover in these amazing experiences and packages and itineraries that you're developing. And speaking to those challenges, I always like to, I love to get insight into like thinking about a time where you've been really challenged and what has been some of the learnings to come from that, or how you've built that resilience, apart from having the good people around you, a supportive wife and good networks around you. What are some of the ways that you've been able to combat that? Because it does get challenging.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I should say that, I was planning to launch this business over 2 years leading up to 2020. 1st of March 2020, we filmed a tour, got some beautiful content. We were ready to click go. And then I think it was, 20th of March, the world shut down. That was super challenging because you have all of the startup costs of a small business, and all of them were gone, and you kind of going, okay, I need to hit the ground running here. And then was, obviously that to zero from there. So what that did allow me to do was kind of take a sit back and go, right, I am going to really, while I can't operate experiences, I'm going to really try and become, best practice in terms of how we operate in a purpose-driven way and things as well. And that really allowed me to have a holistic eye where I'm looking at every aspect of the business, from utility providers that we use back of house to the products that we provide our customers during our day as well. So, I mean, that was, that's been one of the most challenging times. And I know it was for the entire industry from a startup. I guess it was quite a unique situation to be in, but it actually gave me that window of time to go, I'm going to really dive deep in this sort of this process to try and be a force for good as well. Being an outdoor adventure company, I mean, it's quite a blustery, and it's, the middle of summer, which is quite unusual for this time of year. But, being an outdoor adventure company can be quite seasonal as well. So how do I operate year round? How do I have a viable business year round? Because things like your public liability insurance, they don't give you a 6-month policy. It's a 12-month policy. Yeah. So those costs are happening whether I like them or not. So how can I diversify? How can I still remain in the essence of being a nature-based tourism business, but also be able to have something that's attractive to people all year round? That's led on to us offering a multi-day trip along the Great Alpine Road in Victoria's high country in Gippsland to the snow during the winter, because, you know, it's just kind of diving into some of those that appetite that people have to go out to those sorts of experiences as well. So I'm all about looking at the challenges, trying new things, seeing what sticks, and then trying to improve things from there, I guess.
Oh, it's all, I think that's for any business, for any industry, that's something to always take away, because this is, you're absolutely right, where, you know, you couldn't envisage this is a summer's day today, what's happening. So if we could like head into a bit of an excellence round and what you've been doing, because another way that what I've really loved, I'm also seeing you around on the speaking circuit. Just it's so helpful, because even in this conversation, Nic, you've taken purpose-led and being a purpose-driven business to a whole new level of understanding, to what I call or what I've always known. You know, I think I'm a purpose-driven business, but I'm not in that way. You know, it's opened up just another modality for me to consider, particularly with my family, as a, you know, like just to pay attention a little bit more when, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So then you kind of just carry on. So I think just the work that you're also doing in the education space and the training space, even understanding sustainability and regenerative tourism, quick is the different, same is different, you know, and how businesses, you know, because I could say, okay, I'm a quality sustainable tourism business, but being doing what you're doing, how you're, you know, in the regenerative space, could you give us a little insight into just the small things we can all, as humans, not just as businesses, could be more aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference between being a sustainable business for me and being a regenerative business is that as a regenerative business is I'm looking at my business holistically, and I'm trying to operate with a positive impact for today, tomorrow, and in the future across all aspects of the business. So I'm looking at everything from, you know, waste to customer service to communications to community, tackling community sentiment, turning negative community sentiment into positives and working with them, to respecting First Nations culture, loads of aspects of it, and really trying to give back and have a long-term thing. So for me, it's like it's about connecting the dots, and it's about going, okay, you know, I take people on the oceans. I want dolphins to pop up now and again when we're in the ocean, but, you know, the dolphins are under threat in that ocean because of plastic and rubbish and pollution and things like that as well. So what can we actually do to tackle that? We do everything from collecting rubbish from that ocean right through to supporting and helping to fund reef regeneration taking place on that bay. So whole ecosystems are supported from there. And, you know, in the future, then there'll be more dolphins and a healthier ecosystem. And then, you know, maybe my daughter in 30 years time will be guiding a tour for Whamdegh, and she'll be able to have more dolphins pop up. Same here on land, you know. The koala population here on the Mornington Peninsula is under threat. So we support Mornington Peninsula koala conservation to plant trees. Every guest that joins a tour with us, then we plant a native tree with them. And we fund an entire tree planting project every single year. So, you know, it's hard for me right now to take a group of guests and go, we're definitely going to see a koala. But I hope with supporting projects from the inspiring stuff that MP Koala Conservation does, that in, you know, 20, 30 years time, that maybe my daughter again will go, hey guys, I'm going to take you to see a koala. It's easy. And I think that's looking long term and really trying to have this sort of long-term lens of things, of going, you know, I'm not just thinking about my business, and I'm not just thinking about me and my livelihood right now. I'm actually thinking of way after I'm gone. I'd like to think I made a difference. That's your legacy, I guess, as humans. That's our legacy to give back. And you know, unless we all work together and try and do stuff, because there's a lot of people doing amazing stuff in the world. There's a lot of people doing, you know, crazy stuff that's negative as well. And so, you know, as a purpose-driven business, I want my daughter to be proud of me. I want to have this continuous positive impact that continues on long after I'm gone as well. And that's my motivation, you know. And I hope that I inspire, even if it's one business, even if it's other business. As you mentioned before, I work for the Tourism Collective and really advocate for helping other businesses to go on their regenerative tourism journey, because that's what it is. It's a journey. It's not a let's just try and make a few things work for our business. It's actually a continuous part of your mindset of going, every decision I'm going to make, I want this to be a positive impact decision. And for me, that's a no compromise approach. I'm not going to make a decision if it's going to have a detrimental effect on the environment and the community. You might have seen here on the Mornington Peninsula that, you know, come Boxing Day, that freeway is very, very busy from there. Really, really busy. And so locals might go, I don't want tourists here. They're clogging up our thing. But if I'm a tourism operator and I'm picking up rubbish, I'm supporting local conservation projects, I'm supporting local small businesses and stuff, then that community is going to go, you know what, these guys, Wham, are all right. We're going to treat those guests even more welcoming. Our guests come down, have a better community reaction. They go away and go, well, the Mornington Peninsula was really friendly. They advocate for that. They advocate for more conscious travellers. So everything has a knock-on effect. Everything has a connection to the future. And we can all be part of that.
I think you've hit so many points. We've got a way to go. Like, you've just opened my mind to a whole other way. I've just loved the way you're seeing everything. And it's really making a decision first that I'm going to start paying more attention in the way I decide. Because I guess in businesses too, there's cash flow.
Yep.
There's costs involved in doing stuff. So sometimes just taking that little bit more thought, okay, this might cost less, but what is the impact? I'm just thinking of other businesses that might be listening to this, yes, but there's also the implications of cost of living and everything that goes with that. But I think just hearing you speak, just thinking of the greater good and a holistic view, almost like a balloon going on like a 360, and how it can be in children's and their children's life can be enjoyed well beyond, you know, our time here on this earth is a big one to contemplate as we traverse the world and the decisions that we make. And it starts in the home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even the way, is this something, I don't know, I'm going to have a good drive home. I'm just going to listen, drive home in silence. Just bring our whole family, because you're right on. And I love also that thought process of what you've said of just about that negative connotation on local communities of what tourism can bring, because it is. I mean, sometimes it's not, it wouldn't be. I mean, not that I'm not living in a tourist area, but I can imagine for locals, I probably want to be leaving sometimes at that time, but having that positive impact. Your footprint, literally, your legacy already in the 4 years that you've been in existence is, we're all learning. We're learning and you're leading, which is excellent. So speaking of excellence round, what's been some of the best advice that you know, in business, in life, if you can think of some of the best advice that you've been given, what would you like to share?
I think I mentioned it already, but I think that progress, not perfection, is some of the best sort of wisdom that I've ever got as well. If I had tried to start the most perfect ecotourism business, I wouldn't have started this business. This vehicle, I wanted an electric vehicle, but one, that type of vehicle is not available right now in Australia. Two, I wouldn't have the budget, even if it was as a smaller owner operator as well. So, you know, to go, okay, well, you know, I'm going to have a vehicle that causes emissions, but what can I do to limit the impact of that as well? And that sort of progress, not perfection, of how I operate, from an ecotourism point of view, but then also from a business point of view as well, of going, okay, well, we're just going to sort of gradually make progress. And I'm very, I guess, sensible with my business decisions. I don't want to buy a fleet of vehicles straight away and then overextend myself. I'm going, okay, let's just take baby steps, try and gradually grow the business organically, and then just see where it can kind of go from there as well. Progress, not perfection, works for me in a lot of respects too. So I guess that's probably one of the main bits of advice that I think, because you can be scared, you can be scared of going, oh, I don't know where to start. I'm not going to be perfect, so I'm not going to do this. But like you mentioned before, sometimes you can look at a couple of items and you go, well, the less ethical option's a cheaper option, and that's going to be better on my bottom line right now. And it's kind of making those decisions, and some of them are tough decisions to make. But if you can make progress, and some of them might not be economically viable to make straight away, but that's okay. You can improve in other ways, and keep improving. The business that Wham was a year ago and compared to what it is now, is we've made 1 million improvements, and we will over the next year as well. So I like that mindset of just continuous improvement, continuous progress, strive for perfection, but you never get there.
That's strive for perfection. I think as long as we keep striving, I said this to my kids the other day, to my kids, they're quite competitive and into their sports. Like, your greatest competitor is yourself yesterday. And it's the same in business, isn't it? Like you're saying, for a year ago compared to what you'll learn, the new connections you'll make. It's progress, not perfection. That's a good one. To help you run your really outdoorsy, you're not in an office anymore. You were once, not anymore. To just help your life and business run, do you have any go-to, apart from your phone, apps, software? Like, do you have any tools of the trade that you use that just you could live without?
I guess from a design point of view, I use Canva quite a lot, just to kind of design various different social tiles and all of that. I find that quite a good time saver, I guess, in a lot of ways. So I find that a really good resource to, with someone with very low graphic design skills like myself, to be able to design something that looks quite schmick and quite good across your social channels as well. And I guess trying to keep that consistency across your social channels in terms of your look and your brand and all of that side of things as well is really important. So that's probably one of the tools I use a lot. I use a lot of web apps, as you can imagine, running an outdoor adventure business too as well. But that's for me to be able to be flexible and adaptable and be able to offer the most amazing experience to my guests based on whatever the weather's doing, and be able to, change on at the drop of a hat and be able to still give them an exceptional day out. I quite often get asked that. They go, where do you usually hike and all of that? And I'm like, it depends on the weather, it's the time of year. It depends on lots of things. And I love that. I love having this as your giant playground. Like you say, I don't have an office. I have a huge area of to take people to, and I try and use every square kilometre of it.
And I guess drawing your own inspiration in your progress of learning and inspiration, what is current or existing, like a resource or a person, a book or a podcast that you've drawn inspiration from that keeps you green and growing?
I'm trying to think of the names of them all now. No, I mean, there's a lot of podcasts on regenerative tourism and hearing from them of other businesses as well. Anna Pollock is sort of one of the sort of pioneers of regenerative tourism. She was talking about regenerative tourism for anyone else was or before anyone cared about it.
Yeah.
So anything that she's on, I love listening to her and lovely. I met her in Melbourne. She was here in March last year as well, and that's a really good one too. When I mean, I've got a 20-month-old baby, so reading books kind of falls by the wayside. But you know, reading a few years ago, Dark Emu was a really interesting read by Bruce Pascoe, and just seeing how sophisticated and deep First Nations culture and infrastructure and knowledge and expertise was here in Australia, both pre and post colonization. So you know, that was a really interesting read as well. Watching a lot of documentaries, opening your eyes. You know, I've been watching a bit on and doing a bit of reading recently on mycelium and things as well, the sort of fungal network below trees and how trees kind of communicate with each other, which gives you a newfound respect for trees and nature and kind of makes you kind of love them even more. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at things. I take people into rock pools as well to swim. So now I've been learning a bit about cold water therapy and kind of, you know, taking hot showers and learning about how invigorating that is. We run an experience with the Peninsula Hot Springs where we do a fire and ice experience where they go from sauna to really cold pool and practice that breathing. I then take them into nature to practice that in rock pools as well. So I feel like I'm just trying to constantly develop my knowledge. When I'm walking in nature on my own or on a trail run on my own or walking the dog or whatever it is, then I'll have maybe a podcast in about some of those things. But you know, sometimes it's worth just taking your headphones out and listening to nature and just hearing all of what's going on as well. So yeah, I guess I learn from lots of different areas, but I'm just always kind of reading and listening, and I like that sort of First Nations approach to deep listening, you know, kind of going beyond just kind of listening like we're talking now, but actually really deeply trying to understand things as well. And I've got a long way to go to understand how that all works.
And I think through a child's eyes, I'm sure through your daughter now, at this age, just her curiosity and just seeing the world unfold through her eyes, I can imagine would be a beautiful journey as well. Oh, Nic, I could talk to you. I think, I could come back and see Nic a year on from now and just keep on the journey with you. Congratulations. Like I've said, I've proudly watched you transition from corporate Nic to like this adventure. You could just see someone that's fulfilling a lifelong dream, and it's just it's a pleasure to watch and to support you on this journey. Thank you for sharing. I think you will have inspired and just educated many that have watched or listened to us. And in terms of supporting you and finding more about you and what you do, where's the best place to connect with you and find out more about Wham?
Yeah, I mean, heading onto our website, wildadventuresmelbourne.com, or just, you know, reaching out to me on LinkedIn or, you know, our socials on Instagram or Facebook or however people want to drop us an email or anything like that too. I'm always, I just love, you know, speaking with others and helping to support others. And so if there's any way I can help anyone in any way or just have a general chat, then please reach out.
You're amazing. I do have one burning last question. As a George Michael fan, did Wham come first or Wild Adventures Melbourne, and then it's like Wham?
Wham, the logo is these capital letters like the George Michael Wham logo. Do you know what? I think in one stage, in the early stages, I was going to have Wham in red, and I was like, no, that's probably the copyright infringement to Wham. We actually, on our vehicle here, we play like local musicians, Victorian artists, but there's a little bit of Wham infused into that playlist. So now and again, you'll have Club Tropicana, Wake Me Up Before You Go or something like that, or Last Christmas and Christmas Time.
Yes.
So no, Wham's a classic, but I don't know. There's definitely elements of it that you can kind of see within the logo, and you know, maybe I've kind of got a bit of an 80s look to me as well. I think Despina. So.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. We will link everywhere to find more about you. And it's just a pleasure to just be bashed around by nature. We couldn't have been more perfect to do this in the elements today.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.
Relax.